Welcome to Raise Nation Radio, live from the Country Music Hall of Fame at the 8th Annual Raise Conference in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Dawn Lego, and I could not be more excited about this year's conference. Over the next 2 days, we'll talk to fundraising leaders about the latest and greatest from the nonprofit world. We'll explore hot-button issues, innovative ideas, and bring you all the energy from the Music City. And joining me is my fantastic co-host, Matt Bitsagai from DonorDoc.
Thanks, Don. We are so excited to be here. We can't wait to share with you some innovative fundraising strategies, some inspiring stories. Buckle up, everyone, and get ready. We are about to raise the bar together. Welcome to Raise Nation Radio.
Ty Muldoon of Girls Inc. We're so glad that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
You and I first met when we were at an entirely different conference.
Yes.
And I was teaching a workshop on fundraising events, and I asked you if you had a memorable event that you could share, and you said the Raise Conference.
Yes.
So now that we're at the Raise Conference together, I wanted to ask you, what made this your choice of a memorable event?
Well, this is my second year, and I have to say, still my second favorite conference. You know, last year being my favorite, this one's close second. And it's just the level of speaker that we have here, and the engagement, the networking opportunities have just surpassed any of the previous conferences I've been to, that they're meaningful, that they really put thought into what the attendees need, and they've checked all of those boxes. And the fundraising party is pretty fun also. But last year I made a group of friends that we're still communicating, and we are across the U.S. And
That's
so
amazing.
to have other people that are doing the job that I am, but not my community, that I can run things by, that I can reach out to, is really valuable.
Yeah.
I think you tapped into a really critical piece, because I think often when we look at conferences and attending conferences, we look at budgets and we make decisions based on certain things, and professional development should look all of those things, right? And nonprofits aren't operating in isolation, and yet often they're made to feel like they are.
Yeah.
And that we're actually pitted against each other in many ways.
Yes.
For donor dollars, which we're not. Parentheses, here's the big truth. We're not, right?
Secrets out.
Secrets out. What are the benefits of attending this conference? So in the moment, but what does it do for you when you go back home, for your organization, for your donors?
Yeah, well, connecting with people like Sam that gave really tangible things that I can take back, and we're implementing this year, some of the things that she's given us, and to have things that I can take back to the board who don't understand what the fundraising world is like, that they can see that, you know, there's data there that back up when I make big decisions that they may not understand. And it gives me new skills and keeps me fresh. I've been in a fundraising role for 15 years in various capacities. But there's always something new. There's new trends. There's new data. I mean, COVID is the key of that things happen in this world. And if you don't stay relevant, you're not a good fundraiser. So having not just the networking, but data that I can take back, that, you know, and new resources. That I'm a Bloomerang user, but there are things that I learned just here that our database can do that I didn't know. So that's definitely something I can take back and use in the office.
Well, and we all only have so many hours in a day.
Yeah.
Right? I can only read so many books or research studies or data points. And so there's something really interesting too about relying on experts who are filtering that into some salient points that I'm like, oh, that's what I need. And that's how I can take that back.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, is there something from this conference that you have just said, this is what is going to change my work at Girls Inc.?
Yeah. The most impactful session so far for me that was something new, that, you know the word DAF. Everybody knows DAF is Donor Advised Fund. But to really see it in a new light, that was helpful for me. And as I'm trying to think about new buckets of revenue and new ways to engage our donors, that was something big. And to know that donor advised funds aren't this big, scary thing, and that someone like me who I'm clearly making all the money working for a nonprofit. That's something I could have that I could support other nonprofits with. So that is a big one for me that will really open a new door and make me connect with donors in a new way. The others are the self-care piece. I mean, our 2 keynotes were phenomenal this year. And just remembering that this is a lonely world to live in. Fundraising does feel isolated and sometimes like we're pitted against each other. But that reminder that there are colleagues, there are friends, there are other people that I can go to and that are feeling the same thing. Like that's really big. And I just feel like every workshop I've been at, I've taken something that I can utilize back in the office today. I have a lot of notes. My poor staff have gotten a lot of emails like, guess what we're doing when I come back. So I think they were hoping for less emails for me at a conference, but...
Well, and specifically not the ones with all the big offsite ideas.
Yes.
I've been thinking.
Right.
So you're here because of mission-based work. Take a minute to tell us about Girls Inc. and the work you do.
It's going to take me longer than a minute, but I'll try.
Great.
Girls Inc. is near and dear to my heart. I am a Girls Inc. alum, so I went through the program as a girl, and I tell people it saved my life and changed my life. I would not have a master's degree and be a CEO if I had not gone through the program. So I also worked for the organization for 4 years when I was young in my fundraising career, nonprofit work, and I loved it. And I didn't leave because I was upset. I needed to try new things in the nonprofit world. And when the position of CEO came up, I jumped at that. And I left a really great job to do this because every day we change lives of girls. It's giving them opportunities and empowerment and really just supporting girls that I don't feel like women get enough recognition or support. And we're leveling the playing field for these girls, that the world is going to be different. The future is going to be very different. And it is certainly female.
Yes.
And it's just a really great after school and summer program for girls. And we do meaningful work with them.
You have an event coming up soon, and you and I have talked a lot about event fundraising.
Yes.
What is something new that you're adopting this year that we've sort of been able to dig out of the potential of your event?
Our run of show looks very different. Very different this year than last year, where we raised the paddle at the very end and we saved that. And it's really right in the middle now. But we have sandwiched it with your beautiful advice between our girl video and our awards ceremony. So they're really getting hit with the mission early on. We're not waiting until everybody's tired and trying to get out the door. And we have implemented more of a match for this year. So we have a couple more guaranteed paddle raisers and a bit of a match this year.
You have to promise to tell me how it goes.
I will.
Good.
I will. I promise you. I'll send you a very excited email because we are already on track to do better this year than we did last year.
Congratulations.
That's the best ever.
I'm excited.
So on our podcast, The Fundraising Elevator, we believe that when we work together, we're all going up.
Yeah.
So what is a piece of sage advice or just a motivational tip, anything that you have for those fearless fundraisers out there doing their thing?
Get a mentor and reach out to people. Your strongest tool in your toolkit is other people, that you are not the smartest person in the room every day, and remembering that and knowing that there are other people with skills that you don't have that you can rely on has been key for my success. I know data is not my strong suit, so I have people I can go to, but fundraising is my jam. Like I have no problem asking somebody for money, but getting some of the detail part together for like the proposals, that's not my strong suit, but I can find that niche for anybody. So just making sure for any fundraiser that you know what your skills are and you surround yourself with people that are smarter than you and better than you in the areas you're not.
That's just great life advice.
That's good advice for life. That's true.
Thank you for joining us here in the studio. We really appreciate you coming and sharing about your experience at Raise, and hopefully you'll inspire others to come to Raise.
It is the best fundraising conference I have ever been to, and I've been to 15 years of them.
Amazing.
So, definitely great.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Hello and welcome. We've got Julia Campbell and Josh Hirsch.
Hi.
Thank you for being here today.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us. You're here speaking at the Raise conference about social media and communication strategies that can achieve long-term goals for organizations.
Yep.
So Josh, I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what that can look like for our nonprofit friends.
So we know that we have to focus on the here and now, but at the same time, like we have to build for the future. So when we're talking about social media, it's not just to set it and forget it. We need to be very engaging with our audience, to develop a content strategy based upon data. And that's like where my nerdiness really comes into play. We might think that we want to talk about purple puppies in Peru, but if that content isn't performing well with our clients or constituents, then we need to reassess. And for me, digging in from both a macro perspective when we're looking at those insights and trends over time, because once again, I'm pulling those KPIs on a daily basis, not only looking at it from okay, what are we looking, month over month, but I'm digging into the post, seeing does a Monday motivation post move well, and what is it about that type of content is really resonating with our audience. So because of that, we have to be dynamic in our thought process. We've really have gone past the stage, and it's unfortunate, organic reach doesn't really exist anymore in social. So if you are not planning even $100 a month as far as a social budget, and that could be either just doing direct social ads or doing some sort of boosting of posts, we have to get our content out there. We also know at the same time, and this is something we talk about all the time, we don't own the social media channels.
Yes.
Right? We are almost leasing a space from Mark or from Elon. If we're on that channel, and realize that at any time this could go away. So how is this just another part of our overall content strategy to once again drive them back to our website? Because that's where we can get a conversion. That's where we can get people to sign up for our program, make a donation, become a volunteer. And if we aren't factoring that in, knowing that it could go away at any moment, then we're going to be handcuffed when it happens.
Yep. So you're introducing a couple of concepts that I think might be new for people. We can't set it and forget it.
Yes.
Because a lot of people would just really like to, because this is one of the 5 million hats they're wearing.
Right.
Yes. And 2, paying some money to these spaces to occupy that space.
Yeah.
And I think those are new concepts for people that I really want them to start to at least put them into their wheelhouse. Julia, let's talk about social media and its potential to impact donor relationships.
Yes. Well, it has a huge impact, because if you think of donors like you think of consumers, consumer behavior, people are people. We are on our phones, we're on social media.
Right.
So whether or not we love it or we hate it or we're on it personally, we do need to understand that this is where people are spending their time. The other thing that's important to understand is that your audience, your constituents, they might be on different channels than my audience and my constituents. So you need to really be strategic and thoughtful and intentional about where you're spending your time on these channels. You can say, people call me all the time and they say, should I be on TikTok? And I say, well, I don't know. I don't know. Right. What are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to reach Gen Z? Are you trying to reach millennials? Do you have video content? Are you able to create really short, pithy, fun videos? And if not, then maybe LinkedIn is a little bit of a better place for you, a better match for you. So for me, I think when you're talking about using social media for building donor relationships, you have to think about your goals. You have to think about your strengths, your bandwidth, your capacity, and what you can create, and the channels where your donors actually are spending time.
Yeah. And stories are a big part of that.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people think a story is a story is a story, just as a channel is a channel is a channel. Yeah. What does that intersection look like for folks?
Well, if we look at social media, and we're talking about this today in our session, if you look at the reasons why people are on social media, the number one reason is to connect with friends and family. Number one. Maybe on TikTok, it's a little bit different. Some channels are different. But the number one reason across the board is connecting with friends and family, connecting with people, human connection.
Yeah.
So the more that we can fit into that mold, and the more we can create social media content that looks like what people want to see. Yeah. Stories around people. The thing with storytelling that I think a lot of organizations get wrong on social is they feel like, it has to be a client. It doesn't. It can be the director of development. It can be the executive director. It can be a volunteer. It can be an intern. It can be a donor.
Yeah.
You can tell all of these sort of wide variety of stories that create and humanize your organization. So it's absolutely vital to be sharing stories on social media.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point there to show the full picture of your organization.
Yeah.
Yes.
We know that, let's say you're an after-school arts program and you've got these great kids that are coming in for 2 hours after school, and we're providing with these great creative outlets. But what about those, as you said, volunteers? Those are the stories we need to see. People want to see that behind the scenes, and showing that through storytelling on social is such a great channel. But at the same time, too, how are we incorporating that? And I'm going back to that omni-channel approach is we want people, because someone may never come to your TikTok profile, but you've got great content there.
Yeah.
But we know that we're still telling that story on another channel. But at the same time, too, it's the Tim Curry example. What's Tim Curry going to be?
Oh, right. The Tim Curry. That's the slide for today.
Yes.
I have a slide where I have a bunch of like a melange of Tim Curry various roles. And the point is, every platform is different.
Yeah.
Like every Tim Curry is different in every movie. Every platform and every channel is different.
Yeah.
And how you use it and how you sort of leverage it for your organization is going to be different. And you don't need to be on every platform. I think that's another very
I
important
think
That's
point.
that's key. I think for
You do
folks,
not need to be everywhere.
You can dilute everything and try and do all of them and do them all poorly, or
Yeah.
you can pick a couple that are
Yes.
actually in your skill and
That's what
wheelhouse.
people are doing now,
Yeah.
and that's really working well. Some organizations are just on Instagram. Some
Yeah.
organizations are just on LinkedIn, and that's fine. It all depends on, like, we said before, where is your audience? What are you trying to achieve? And which channel can best
Yeah.
help you reach those goals?
Yeah. Josh, I think sometimes bringing this down from sort of more nebulous conversation, we don't think it's nebulous,
Yeah.
but for some folks, they're like, oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh. What is this? Do you have any specific example of organizations that are doing this really well that people can go out and take a look at and be like, oh, how do we be like X?
Okay, so the National Parks.
Oh, National Parks.
National Parks does an amazing
Okay.
job on Instagram.
Okay.
They just did the waterfalls.
I was just about to say the waterfalls. So don't go chasing waterfalls.
Excellent.
Them and the TSA, believe it or not, are two amazing profiles
These
on
are
social.
counterintuitive, folks.
Right, but
These
you
are
wouldn't,
counterintuitive.
but they do
The IRS
storytelling.
actually does a great job
right.
as well.
It's
It's weird.
storytelling in a non-traditional sense that you wouldn't think that, okay, what does the TSA have to say? But
Right.
really engaging content that teaches you a point, but at the same time brings you in. And they do it really well on Instagram. So it's thinking outside of the box, not like, we need to get donors, so let's tell the impact. Like, no, like, let's bring them in and focus on a different perspective from it.
Exactly. The other thing is, I think like Human Rights Campaign does a fabulous
Yeah.
job on social
Yeah.
media. Planned Parenthood, these are just organizations I personally follow.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have consistently entertaining and fun and light content to
Right.
make an impact.
Right.
So you can have a serious topic that you're
Yeah.
talking about. And as long as you are educating people, sharing information that they care about, that they want to
Yeah.
know, updates, news alerts,
Yeah.
things like that, contextualizing things that are in the news and headlines, that's what really makes a powerful social media account. So I love the national parks.
Yes.
I love, the ASPCA. There's, they share a lot of fun, lighthearted content.
Yeah.
But there are some other organizations that I follow to get news alerts and to figure out what's going on. So I follow them. They're like my go-to.
Yeah.
So if we think about it that way, it doesn't have to be like TikTok dances. Like we don't have to be doing Brat Summer and like all, although it's fun, but
Yeah.
you don't
Are you
have to be.
demure?
Oh, if I hear the word demure one more time, I will lose my mind.
That was such a thing this summer.
Yeah, but but you don't have to be following those trends. You really can be true to your mission and your brand voice. Just understanding what your audience wants to see from you that you can uniquely give them that they can't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
However, I will say, if you are able to latch
Yeah.
onto a trend,
Sure.
but not just say, okay, here's the trend, we're going to do it, but have a sensible way that you're taking that trend and
Link it
incorporating
to your mission, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think that's, sort of the mission storytelling that we're talking about. But I
Yes.
think what I'm also hearing here that I think could be really helpful for folks is changing up. I mean, you're a range of emotions as an organization. You're
Yes.
tapping people with a range of entry points to your
Yeah.
organization. So going all levity, that's not the way to go, but also all
Yes.
going doom and gloom. And if without us, the world's going to end. Like thinking about how you're communicating to donors in the same
Yeah.
way you do in direct mail. You're reaching across the space to people who may not know you yet too. So thinking about what that can look like.
100%.
What's a strategy for folks when they're thinking about that in terms of their tone?
Well, we teach a lot about content and content strategy, and content can be anything from your email to your blog post to your website to your social media. So if you're thinking about content, thinking about it very holistically, what are like the 10 things that you can talk about that you want to be known for?
Yeah.
And then you want to make sure you have some evergreen content that is sort of will never go stale, that's always going to be relevant. And then you want to also make sure that you have some, I call it rapid response content, where even if you're a library, even if you're a school, even if you are a museum, whatever, where whatever your mission is, you have to be able to respond to things that are going on in your community or things that are going on in the news.
Yep.
So as long as you have that mix, and it does take a while to kind of get that recipe correct.
Now, for me,
You did that at Susan G. Komen.
Yeah, exactly. But bringing in AI is really, I think, where we're able to leverage the next step is taking, once again, the data perspectives that we have, looking at what's performing well, and being the nerd that I am, like I'll build out a custom GPT that specializes specifically in social content, and then analyzing the data to say, okay, here's what's performing well. Help me develop a content calendar and help me draft. And that's the key thing, is that it's just a draft. It's a starting point, but it's somewhere to do more with less. And we know that we're all trying to juggle 10 projects at once. If we have a tool that can help us be more effective, then we need to take advantage of that.
Yep.
Again, I just want to pull this thread through for folks. What you all are hitting on is you can't set and forget it. And there's sort of a bigger picture. This is what we're thinking, but also the responsiveness that's happening in the moment that disrupts some of that or infuses some of that strategy, if you will. What do folks do with the many hats they wear and figuring out what that looks like on a day-to-day? What should be their primary, like if I have one thing I can do today, what is that?
If I had one thing to do today, I would say, excuse me, it's about listening and engaging. It's not just going out there and saying, we're going to talk about the purple ponies today in Peru, but we're going to actively look at how our constituents are responding to our content, and how can I create engaging content that, like, posting questions that's going to elicit reactions that based upon what our focus of our organization is, or initial, target at that moment. So putting out content that we determine that we want to drive action, but at the same time too, that we believe that will elicit emotions by listening, not just talking into an echo chamber, but seeing what others are resonating. And at the same time too, what are others within our niche talking about?
Yes.
And how can we engage with those brands too, from a brand perspective?
I think the problem is that we were sold a bill of goods back when Facebook came out with Pages, the donate button. We were told, oh, this is going to replace our website. This is going to replace our email.
That's right.
We saw, before everyone and, their brother had a Facebook page, we really could see some traction. And then there were algorithm changes, and we realized we really don't control this medium.
Right.
I think if you have a million hats, I would focus on one channel and just go very deep, because what happens is you spread yourself too thin. You are posting and sort of spraying and praying and throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks. But if you just, I work with, like, the Boston Foundation is a good example. They decided we're going to just double down on LinkedIn. Our executive director is going to post, and we're going to post from our company page, and we're going to sort of walk before we can run and then fly. So we are just trying to build up their LinkedIn presence very strategically, using all the features, because there's so many features. LinkedIn Live, we're using LinkedIn Events, we're using the premium features. So for me, I think if you are like bootstrapping nonprofit, you wear a million hats, really doubling down on one or two channels and not trying to be everywhere all at once, because it's really challenging. People have social media departments of 20 people, like major brands.
You're adding it to what you're doing. At my podcast, The Fundraising Elevator, we believe we all go up when we work together. So I'm wondering, in our last couple minutes, if each of you have just that one tip, if you were reaching across the space to our fearless fundraisers, that you would offer them. What's that one tip?
I think Julia made a great point. It's understanding the channel and its capacity, knowing the right way to speak on that channel, from like, do we use hashtags? Do we not? Do we take advantage of live capabilities with that? What are those feature-rich tools within that specific platform itself? I just learned recently, like, if you upload a PDF to LinkedIn, like, it creates a really cool slideshow. So you're able to have, like, this interactive content, but showing long form content in a shorter form way. It's understanding things like that, and not always just posting an image and copy. Like, what are the different types of content that's going to allow me to create that engagement for our audience?
Fantastic.
For me, I think my one tip is to explain to fundraisers that their work really does matter. People want to hear from them. They're not annoying their donors. In fact, they're probably not communicating nearly enough.
Right.
And I would just say, you have a message that matters. Think about what you want to be known for. Think about what you want people to feel when they see your content, and go from your gut. Like, trust your gut and trust your instincts.
Awesome. check out Julia's book, Storytelling in a Digital Age. Thank you both so much for being here today on the Raise Nation podcast.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thanks again.
Hey, Deb.
Hi, Taylor.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you this afternoon?
I'm really good.
Good.
It's 4:00. No, almost 5.
It's almost 5.
It's been quite a day. How's your day been at Raise?
It is. It's that time of day where the post-lunch lull and the pre-dinner, need a little caffeine, a little sugar.
Yes,
Right?
I know. I've had a lot of coffee already, but
Okay.
now I'm a little like, I could use maybe one more. No.
Yeah. Maybe it's time to just get up, move around. We're at the move around phase, I think.
That's
That's
what it
where we're
is.
going to move
That's
into
what it
next.
is.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about you and your work. You are the Chief Development Officer at Big Girls and Big Brothers Big Sisters. I'm sorry. I see it's that time. I know. Catch me on it. And you're keynoting tomorrow morning, I believe, right? You're
That's
at Raise?
right. I am.
Okay.
I am. I'm a long-time raiser, but first-time
you?
keynoter.
Oh, wow. Okay. How many years have you been coming to Raise?
I think since the beginning. I think I'm one of the old schoolers, and
Okay.
I've done a few different panels on the main stage and different workshops, but this will be the first time taking the main stage alone.
Okay.
Which will be really fun.
You're going to be good. Well, we have both been, we're both OG raisers.
Yeah.
And the only one that I haven't been to, I think, was the first year.
Ooh. Okay. So you're way OG too.
So we're OG too, but we just haven't had a chance to meet yet. So
Yeah.
this is good. It's
is good.
finally happening.
I like that.
Happening for us. Okay, so tell us about your keynote. I think you're going to be talking a little bit about burnout and mental health,
I am.
the
So
nonprofit sector.
this year-
Let's go deep here.
let's go deep in our feelings. It's the end of the day. We're already there.
Exactly.
So let's just go deeper.
I just ate some M&Ms.
Yeah.
I'm feeling this. I'm here for it
By the
now.
way, that's how we comfort ourselves and take care of this burnout and all the other things. Well, this year, for the first time ever, the Center for Effective Philanthropy did a survey, like they always do. But for the first time ever, the number one concern for nonprofit employees, people like me who work in this industry, is burnout. Over fundraising, over program and impact work that we can do, over serving our missions. Burnout of ourselves is what's on top, which speaks to our mental health and well-being. It's our sense of anxiety. It's, are we doing the self-care? It's all the things that are about our well-being that are now rising. And maybe they've always been there, but the fact that we're actually saying, yes, that's what's affecting me as a cohort, as a group of individuals from so many nonprofits, speaks volumes to the state of the employee group that's driving so many of our causes.
Yeah. Why do you think? I mean, like if you had, there's a lot of reasons why. But let's say if you had to boil it down to like the root of it is here. And then I think there's like these symptoms that bubble up from that.
As nonprofits, we've always been scrappy, like scrappy in a good way. You know, nonprofits we have grit. We can get so much done with little. Right, totally. Then there was this little thing called the pandemic, where so many of us, we were the third largest impacted industry from the layoff perspective. Like so many of us had to let go of staff, had to let go of resources, probably contractors as well.
Yeah.
But I would bet my bottom dollar that we haven't restored those levels now, multiple years out of the pandemic. We don't have all that workforce back. Those people didn't all get rehired just because we came out. And yet we're innovating, we're going super fast, we're learning AI, we're catching up with the rest of business.
Yeah.
And still scrappy, but I think it's a little overwhelming in our own workspace. And then there's the world. The world's hard. It's
crazy.
Hard what's going on. We are parents. We are community members. We're people that have lives outside of our work. And so you compound all of that. And I think we're all feeling it and maybe saying it out loud that it's now impacting my life. My world is impacting my job. And we weren't saying that out loud before.
Do you feel like you have no idea where time is going?
Do you feel that
And
when you
that's
walk
part of
around the
it?
room here, as
A
you see
little
people and
bit.
you go, has it really already been a year since we saw each other
come up in
last?
several conversations, and I'm wondering as we talk through this, if it like that's part of this feeling that we're having too with the world and everything's moving so fast and we're expected to know so many things and to keep up with everything. And you mentioned AI, And I even gave a talk about how to use AI, this morning. And I'm laughing because I'm like, I'm not an AI expert, but like we got to figure this out.
We all have to embrace whether we want to or not.
Figure this out. So like we're going to talk about.
It's like, do you remember when you first had your cell phone?
Yeah.
And you were like, well, I got to learn how to use my cell phone now. I need to have it for my email and my socials and all my things. But that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
And it's the same with AI. It's now here. We should learn and we should embrace. And all that should is the part that's exhausting.
Yeah.
And then to your point of time, we're not off the hamster wheel ever.
No.
Because we're so connected, it doesn't stop.
Yes.
And maybe there's a positive and a negative. The positive is when I've seen you on my socials or we've chatted, even texted, maybe I don't feel as disconnected from you. Maybe we feel like, oh, it's not been that long. And there's the other, like, it's been a year. Wow. I don't know what I did in that year. Right? There's both kind of size can come out of that time pace that you're just talking about. Can feel like it went really fast. And then it can feel like, what did I do in that time between this year and last year?
Yeah.
What happened? How did I take care of me? How did things change? Did I get those resolutions done? All those things that we walk out of a door like Raise where we're inspired. We took all these notes of things we're going to take back to work.
Yeah.
But how much of that overwhelmingness actually did we get to act on and move forward?
Yeah.
I wonder
too. I think that we should do this. I should do that. I should meet these goals. I should know this. I think those expectations of should are what's making this almost like this time feel like it's just sucked into a vacuum because the expectations and the connectedness are so high.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, yeah, it's been a year. It's funny. I was earlier interviewing Mike Wilkinson from Human Rights Campaign, and I interviewed him a year ago on this Raise Nation podcast, and it was like, oh, hi, it's been a year. And then I'm thinking, like, doesn't feel like it's been a year.
No.
But I think you're onto something with that should. How do you at your organization, you're the chief development officer, that's no small feat, at a very large nonprofit organization, how do you help push through this within your culture and drive change within your culture so that we can help people's mental health? Because just because someone's working at an organization doesn't mean we should be driving them into the ground at all.
I love that question. I'm so grateful. I get to work in a mission at Big Brothers Big Sisters that's dedicated to mentorship. And part of what I'm going to talk about tomorrow on the main stage is mentorship is one of those evidence-based interventions that actually can help increase your confidence, decrease your anxiety and stress, increase your sense of belonging and connection. And those are all things that you feel the negative side of when you talk about burnout, when you talk about the negative side. So what a concept that just through this, let's connect together as humans, which is what mentorship's all about. Let's connect together as humans. I learn a little from you, you learn a little from me. We listen to each other actively. We embrace that time together. Mentorship's not about you have all the answers. You're really just there for me. And what I get to do and what our organization gets to do is bring people together in our mission every day, but we practice it in our work. We practice it in the office and in how we connect together of always lifting. How does our mission come alive on a daily? Because if we know this is what works for young people, well, it works for us too. And the more we can live that out loud, the more we can give this space and place. The others were 100% remote, which what a concept now that so many organizations are. And we lean into that good self-care with folks who are on their track pads walking during meetings, and we've normalized that's okay. Folks are using their emojis if they don't feel like they can talk out loud because, you know what, I'm just a little tired in this meeting. I'm going to use my emojis in my chat, and that's okay because I'm still still participatory, but I don't feel like I have to be the out loud voice all the time. And I can be part of the conversation and lean into that positive space together. Yeah. And then again, we have just times where we just talk. How about we just talk about stuff and say, how was your weekend? How was your day yesterday? And not just jump right into, but see you as a person first, human first, and then the work. So we start to normalize that part of taking good care of ourselves and then honoring taking care of each other.
Mm. How do you take care of yourself?
I'm a disconnector.
Okay.
So my favorite thing is when my cell phone has no reception.
That's the best.
Joy of I happen to live in the Northwest where we have beautiful places to go watch the whales and see the seals and see the wildlife. And my favorite thing is to head to a beach where all of a sudden the cell phone connection is just not that strong. And so you can't be tempted. You're not as tempted like, oh, I should see if I check that email. Oh, I should see if I missed something. No, actually, I can just be present outside and enjoy this moment, no matter how long that moment is, 5 minutes to an hour. It's so restorative because the pressure of should is gone.
I love it. I relate because I live in the mountains in North Carolina, and there's a lot of spotty reception areas. One of my favorite times of day is when I'm on a phone call in the car and it just drops. And then I'm like, well,
dead spot.
Oops. No, not that I want to get off the phone, but it's funny because sometimes you and then you've got 10 or 15 minutes of just nothingness. And, you know, and you call the person back and you're like, what's going around the mountain? I dropped you.
And at the same time, graceful that person is to you?
Yeah. Yeah, because, when you've got a good reason like that, oh, no problem. I figured you'd call me back. Yeah. And you know what? It was like I had this moment where I was like, the phone we were talking, one of us was right in the middle of the statement, and then it just dropped, and it's like, you're done. And I feel like it's like the universe telling you, you're done, take a break. Unplug. Yeah, unplug. And it's like this forced unplugging, and it's one of the most beautiful things.
Is this the joy and gratitude you can take from being forced to unplug is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
My kids are that too. You know, when what's going on with them and they say, hey, I need this or I want that. I think also modeling what I want to see in them. I don't want to see their little faces glued to a screen all day and all night. And so be really conscious of what it looks like when I am. Really conscious of being present, 100% present. Not capturing the selfie, but being present. Super happy to see what we're doing it together, taking the photo with my eyes, not my phone. That good, it's the good parent guilt of wanting more for them.
Yeah. I love that. How old are your kids, of cell phone age? It sounds
goodness,
like. I mean, mine are.
And I was a holdback, too. I was really strict. They didn't get phones until 13. So I have a almost 14-year-old and I have a 17-year-old. And I'm super strict about it. They get their phones, but they don't have social media. Mm-hmm. And the older one has the option to, but has listed the pros and cons, understands what it means, and said, nope, not interested. What a great self-choice you made for your own mental well-being, because there's so much data around young people and the pressures that social media provides and puts upon them, the mental health impacts of it. And I'm so proud that my oldest has made those wise choices on their own to say, I'm actually not interested. I don't need more pressure today. I'm good.
That's so good. I'm trying to get my kids there.
How old are yours?
13 and 11.
Oh.
Also almost 14.
Yeah.
And we've been making some changes. You know, I've tried all sorts of things. Cold turkey, just take the phones away.
It's so hard.
That doesn't necessarily work or fix it. So I'm with you.
Then you're just mean.
Exactly. Then you're just mean, and they're just so bored that they can't stand themselves. So it's better to teach realistic habits.
Oh, 100%. I'm so jealous of. Have you heard these folks? Are you a person that, I'll bring this up tomorrow. Are you a person that sleeps with your phone next to your bed? Or are you a person that sleeps with it in another room? And I am guilty. I'm the person next to my bed, but I'm so envious of those folks that can leave it in the other room.
Same. So I've started making sure my kids don't have their phones in their bed.
Same.
But I'm an offender.
100%.
I still do it.
100%.
Because I use it for my alarm clock.
Yeah.
But I have done something. I have started automatically. My phone goes into quiet
night
bedtime mode at 8 p.m. every day. And it kind of does so if people are texting me, I'm not looking at it because it's not buzzing.
Yeah.
And then that's actually helping a lot.
And do you feel good about it?
I do. I feel really good about it. Yeah.
That's one of those great examples of we can just do one thing to help our own mental health. That helps our burnout. It helps us feel like we had time to restore and really sleep and decompress and maybe sit in our thoughts for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a totally different topic.
I love
but
it.
Before we
Let's
wrap,
go.
I want to talk to you about, I heard some things about your new brand campaign.
Yes.
And I love branding, and that's what I do. And so we've got to nerd out on it for a little bit. So
love
tell
it.
me about that, and how did you lead that through your organization?
Well, I am so grateful to partner with an amazing group of individuals, starting with our CEO, who is a brand marketing brilliant leader, and our CMO, who is also a brilliant leader and also a big brother in our system. So really gets the mission and lives it out loud, and really listened to our alumni and people who'd been through our program before, who said, what were the things that you had to overcome to become a mentor? How do we help recruit more mentors? That was all about. And it came to, well, there's this perceived burden of mentorship. It sounds big, sounds like hard. And it sounded like it would take too much time. And so our brand campaign came out of that research, and it is now our new tagline, or our call to action is, it takes little to be big. And it's very simple. It's, what actually making a difference for somebody is a lot of the little things. Some of the little things we just talked about. A little bit of time in our program, a little bit of time, a couple hours a month, can make a big impact on a young person's life. So much so, we see increased success in graduating from high school. They see increased earnings in their lifetime. Their mental health actually is improved. Their depressive symptoms are reduced, and they avoid all those risky behaviors we don't want to see our kids do. And it's all because we listened first to our audience. What did they tell us? We tested. And then we made it really easy to receive and achieve and adapt throughout all our channels, from our partners like a Chipotle, who did a nice roundup campaign with us. And it was, it takes a little fun on your big burrito to, make a big difference. Or our campaigns to recruit volunteers. It just takes a slice or two and a couple of hours to make a big difference. So those kinds of plays and playfulness allow us to be accessible to all different ages of audiences, all different types of people, but all different environments as well. Our goal is to bring back about 1 million of our alumni to come back into the program, help us engage again, but also to recruit up to 30 to 40,000 new bigs each year, because that's about how many kids are waiting for a mentor in our program today.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Hey, you're awesome. I loved this. This was a good conversation.
Well, we kept ourselves going for the end of the day.
We did.
That's the positive.
I got lost in it, honestly. Yeah. Well,
thank you.
Yeah, if people want to find you online and connect and go see this new brand in the world, what's the best place to go?
BeBigNow.org.
BeBigNow.org. I love
Absolutely.
it.
Love it.
I love it. Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
So
Appreciate
good to
it.
see you.
You too.
All right. We'll see you next time, guys.
Well, Fearless Fundraisers, that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining and listening in. I want to thank my fantastic co-host, Matt Vitsugai, as well as all of the podcasters, Taylor Shanklin, Kristen Steele, Samantha Swaim, and Cindy Wagman. We couldn't do it without you, and we also couldn't do it without all of our amazing guests who shared their inspiration with all of you today.
Absolutely, Dawn. And also a special thank you to our friends from Utopia for their behind-the-scenes support and production. Make sure to tune in for all of the Raise 2024 episodes so you don't miss out on any of this amazing content.
Yeah, we don't want to miss a single episode. That is a wrap. Thanks for joining us for this amazing Raise experience.
I'm Matt Vitsugai.
I'm Dawn Lego.
Stay fearless.